In this video, we're going to be looking at on pages Word 34 and 35 out of the textbook, and which is entitled Check Spelling and Grammar. Now, when you finish typing and revising a document, you can use the Spelling and Grammar command to search the document for misspelled words and grammar errors. The Spelling and Grammar checker flags possible mistakes, suggests corrected spellings, and offers remedies for grammar errors such as subject-verb agreement, repeated words, and punctuation. In step 1 on page 34, it tells us that we want to right-click Surat in the headline. And of course we notice that spell check has already flagged this for us by putting a red squiggly line underneath the text. And what that does is that is identified that this word has been misspelled. Now, when we right-click this, we'll notice that a menu that includes suggestions for correcting the spelling of Surat opens up. Now you can correct individual spelling and grammar errors by right-clicking text that is underlined with either a red or blue wavy line and select a correction. Although Surat is not in the word dictionary, it is spelled correctly in the document. Now, of course, if Word flags your name as misspelled, you can always right-click it, then click Ignore All. And of course, if Surat is not flagged as misspelled, you can skip on to step 3. Now, step 2 tells us that we want to click on Ignore All. And what this is going to do is that when we click on this, it's going to tell Word not to flag Surat as a misspelled word. In step 3, it tells us that we want to press our Control and Home key to move our insertion point to the top of the document. Then next, we're going to click on the Review tab. So we click on the Review tab up here, and then it tells us we want to click the Spelling and Grammar button in the Proofing group. So all the way over to the left here is the Spelling and Grammar button. When we click on that, the spelling pane is going to open up, and it looks like this. Now the pane identifies inaugural as misspelled and suggests a possible correction for the error. The word selected in the suggestion box is the correct spelling of inaugural. So we want to accept this, and to accept this, we're going to click on Change in that spelling pane. And of course, Word replaced the misspelled word with the correctly spelled word. Now next, the spelling pane identifies gas lamp as a misspelled word and suggests the correction gas space lamp on there. Now of course, gas lamp is a proper name, and it's as in gas lamp quarter. So on this one, we're going to choose not to change it. Now of course, to change the language used by the Word proofing tools, you can click on the Language button in the Language group on the Review tab and click Set Proofing Language. Then you can click the language you prefer if the dialog box that opens. So if you may be in a different country on there, or if you are wanting to proofread a international document, you may want to proof it in other languages as well. But in this case, since gas lamp is a proper name, we want to click on Ignore. And of course, Word is now going to ignore that spelling. Of course, next, the dialog box indicates that R is repeated in a sentence that's on there. And of course, notice it just tells us repeated word and there's no suggestions. And of course, you'll notice our options have changed a little bit as well. We have Ignore and Delete. Well, since we're not some pirates, we're not going to be going RR on there. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the word Delete. So we're going to delete. And of course, once that happens, the spelling pane closes. Now of course, keep in mind that the Spelling and Grammar checker identifies many common errors. However, you cannot rely on it to find and correct all spelling and grammar errors in your document, or to always suggest a valid correction. So you really need to make sure you always proofread your documents carefully. Now once we have this and it tells us that we're good to go, we're going to go ahead and click on OK, and that's step 7, and that is going to complete the spelling and grammar check. Next, we're going to press our Control key and Home to go up to the top of the document, and then we're going to click on our Save button to save our document. Now, if Word flags a grammar error, The suggested correction is shown in the grammar pane. Now, we do have a feature in Word called Autocorrect, and we can actually insert text with Autocorrect, and this is a very handy tool that's on there as well. Now, as you type, Autocorrect automatically corrects many commonly misspelled words. And by creating your own autocorrect entries, you can set Word to insert text that you typed often, such as your name or contact information, or to correct words you misspell frequently. For an example, you could create an autocorrect entry so that the name Ronald T. Dawson is automatically inserted whenever you type RTD followed by a space. Now, you can create these autocorrect entries and customize other autocorrect and auto format options using the autocorrect dialog box. And of course, to do this, you want to open the autocorrect dialog box by clicking the File tab. That takes us to the Backstage view, and then we can click on Options. Once we are in the Options on there, now we can take a look and we can select Proofing. When we select Proofing, we notice that the top option up here is the Autocorrect Options. And when we click on that, we now have the autocorrect for the English for the United States. Now, we can choose the autocorrect tab, and that's where we want to be at. And then when we want to create an autocorrect entry on here, we can just input it in. For an example, let's say that I'm going to input in my name. So instead of typing my full name in constantly, I can put my initials, JLE. Now, of course, you'll notice I already have one already created in there. But let's just say that I want to abbreviate this on there. And of course, there's JE. So you see that I have multiple entries on there. But you would just put what you want to replace, and then you type in here what you want to replace it with on there. If I was going to do the one for Ronald T. Dawson, I could just put RTD, hit my tab key to go to the with, and then I can type that in, Ronald T. Dawson. And then once I have that changed, I can click on Add, and that's going to add it to this list here. Then, of course, once I have that, I can go ahead and click on OK, and that will accept the autocorrect. And then when I go to my document, if I would type in RTD, or if where I created my own JLE, then you'll notice that it will go ahead and input in that information into the document, and we'll show you that on there. Of course, if you want to make any other corrections, you can just click on one of these and make the corrections. Or if you'd like to delete one, you can also just select it and delete. And of course, to use it in the document, you just click on OK. And let's erase out my name here instead of Jeff Irwin, and I'm just going to type in JLE. If I hit my space bar afterwards, you'll notice that my name has automatically appeared. Of course, you'll notice that I also have another one that's on there, the JE. Hit space, and there's my name. Or if we want to choose the Ronald T. Dawson, there it is as well. So you notice that autocorrect is a very powerful tool, and it can actually be an incredible time saver for you on there as well. And that concludes the information for this video on pages Word 34 and 35. In our next video, we're going to be talking about researching information.